This is David with Motion Artworks Incorporated, and my dad is actually filming. Say hi, Dad.
Hi.
All right, so what we're gonna do today is we're gonna discuss Westerns, because my dad loves Westerns, like since he was a little boy. And I'm going to, while we discuss, carve out different facial hairstyles of the Wild West. And when this video is over, this beard and mustache will be gone. You're welcome, Shannon. Anyway, let's get started. So, first of all, Dad, since you are kind of the resident expert on Westerns, I admit I'm sure you know a lot more than I do, actually. Name a few like favorite Westerns of yours?
Well, I love The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance with John Wayne and Jimmy Stewart and Lee Marvin.
Nice.
What else? Let's see. Shenandoah with Jimmy Stewart. Jimmy Stewart was probably in just as many Westerns as John Wayne and all the other big stars. He was a terrific Western star.
I was just thinking that. He wasn't a lot, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was in the 40s, and then he was a fighter pilot or a bomber pilot in World War II, and then after World War II, Jimmy Stewart came back and did more Westerns.
Oh.
But Shenandoah, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance was great. Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, which Jimmy Stewart was not in, but that one had Chris Christopherson, Rita Coolidge, Lee Marvin, who else? Bob Dylan.
So, Bob Dylan, wow.
Jason, yeah.
I like that.
I can't remember all the rest of them.
Actually. So, in a nutshell, while I'm shaving, because your voice is louder because you're behind the camera, and I'm going to have this on, discuss, and you can spoil it. There will be spoilers, you guys, just warning y'all. Discuss why you liked it, like maybe the premise, you know what I mean? And just kind of, just discuss it a little bit while I do the first look.
I never thought much about the premise, only because it brings back such fun childhood memories of going to the movies. And Saturday afternoons were, the TV shows on Saturday afternoon were the best.
So, what was it about exactly? The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
Starting with the Lone Ranger and Hopalong Cassidy and the Cisco Kid. Those were the television westerns that I enjoyed the most growing up.
Gotcha. So
I even sent away on the Frosted Flakes box. For $1, I got the Wyatt Earp Buntline Special, which was a plastic pistol with a long barrel.
Wow, and that was a real gun too.
Yeah, well, it was a plastic,
Well, no, yeah, but I mean, like, he really had a gun that he preferred.
Yeah, that was back when parents weren't so skittish about their kids playing with a gun because they knew it was just play.
And speaking of Wyatt Earp, he was played expertly by Kurt Russell.
Oh yeah, he was the best.
Tombstone.
He was the best one. Gosh, I can't remember now who the actor was. I can see his face. He played Wyatt Earp. I can even remember the song. Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp.
My God,
brave,
Dad, I don't want to
courageous, and bold.
Stop. I'm kidding. No, just kidding. It's an inside joke. My dad's a horrible singer. Anyway, so speaking of Kurt
You're getting
Russell,
it all today, folks.
Yeah, speaking of Kurt Russell, I believe he had this particular style in
Holy shit.
in The Hateful Eight, didn't he?
I guess he did.
Was this it?
That was pretty
Kind of
close.
the chops or whatever. What do they call this?
Oh, good Lord, yes.
You know what? I do not pull it off. At least I don't feel like I do. I'm one of those like bartender extras or something. I do not look like a stud whatsoever. Anyway, yeah. So lamb chops or something.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is about Westerns is I have to admit that I discovered that I liked girls when I was 10 years old by watching a Western.
Okay.
And it was called Man of the West
Mm-hmm.
in 1960 with Gary Cooper and Maureen O'Hara
Wow.
and John Carradine. And they're being held captive by John Carradine and his gang. And one of the gang members decides he wants to see some skin from Maureen O'Hara. So he says, strip down, honey. And she says no. So he holds a knife to Gary Cooper's throat and says, strip down
Classic.
or else. So Maureen O'Hara strips down
Appropriate to the Wild West.
maybe 3 of her 8 layers of clothing that women wore back then. And all I saw was some cleavage, but that was enough.
You're like 10 years old. And...
I was 10 years old, and I knew I liked girls from that point on.
Wow. Nice. Nice. One of my favorite Westerns, and these are gonna be more recent ones because I'm very inexperienced with the older ones. Really like this one, and I guess it's a remake, as you told me yesterday or the day before. 3:10 to Yuma.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, I really like Christian Bale. He's one of my favorite actors. And second of all, I just thought the story was so unique. The way, so this guy, it's been a while since I've watched it too, so it's not like fresh in my head, but this guy, he's gonna like lose his farm and he needs some money. And so he's trying really hard to get some money, and he gets offered money to like escort this prisoner, like to get him to a train.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so...
To get him to the train to get him to trial.
Awesome, okay.
And his gang doesn't want to let that happen.
Right, yes. Well...
And he's on his own, too. Nobody will help him.
Yeah.
Which was a very common theme on Westerns.
I got a question for you. Since you've watched the original and I've watched the remake, does he die in the original as well?
I don't remember if he dies or if he's just badly injured, but Glenn Ford was in the original.
Okay.
He did several Westerns too.
So like in the remake, the criminal ends up murdering his whole posse just so this guy's family could get the money. The guy ends up dying too, but he kind of earns the criminal's respect during the process, and the criminal knows why he's doing what he's doing. And so, being the psychopath that he is, uses it for good, I guess, and kills his entire posse, thus allowing the guy's family to receive the money that he was going to be paid so that they can keep the farm and be well off, actually. It was pretty cool. It was just a really good film.
It is. But unlike most of the Westerns, the good guy doesn't usually die in the Westerns.
Yeah?
It's always the same theme. They set up a scenario, and there's the good guy, and then a conflict between the good guy and the bad guy and his gang. Mm-hmm. And the good guy realizes he's on his own, and nobody else will help him. And then when the denouement happens, when it comes right down to it, the townsfolk decide they better help him, and they end up doing just that. Just when it looks really bleak for the good guy, the townsfolk come to his rescue.
Yeah.
That was the same thing with the man who shot Liberty Valance, although it wasn't the townsfolk who came to Jimmy Stewart's rescue. It was his buddy. It was John Wayne, hiding in the shadows. And when Lee Marvin was about to shoot Jimmy Stewart, John Wayne, out of the shadows, shot him first. Mm-hmm. And everybody there is that's the story of the man who shot Liberty Valance. I'll sing again. The man who shot Liberty Valance, he was the greatest of them all.
Nice.
And because John Wayne saved Jimmy Stewart's life, Jimmy Stewart got the girl that John Wayne wanted. So
that hurts.
Yeah, that. Anyway, but and again, Jimmy Stewart was standing up for right against the evil Lee Marvin, the bad guy terrorizing the town,
Yeah.
but he wasn't a gunslinger, and he was about to, Lee Marvin was about to shoot him when John Wayne intervened
Yeah. Yeah.
with his carbine.
Yeah. Yeah. That was I watched most of that with you at one point, and I like that too. It's pretty good. I felt like John Wayne's character was just so tragic. I felt so bad for him. That was so sad. And it was weird. It was kind of against, what you would think. Like usually the badass gets the girl, but in this case, that wasn't the case. But I liked the little banter between he and his wife at the very end.
Yeah.
When they were just kind of like talking, he had like his whole life, like he was made by that one act that it turns out he didn't commit. They could have ended that so much darker. Like he could have had a moment alone where like he realized it was all for nil and he was a fake. And
He wasn't a fake.
You're right. He was brave. He definitely bravely tried to
stand up to
why they ended it
Lee
the way
Marvin.
they did,
Somebody had to.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, I've always been a fan of this. I feel like this is probably the most realistic cowboy look.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right? Although it cracks me up because mine just like fades to gray at the bottom.
Yeah.
I like that. I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. I don't know if I could pull it off, honestly. I mean, maybe if I were, in a different life, if I was a cowboy, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of do pull it off, but it's not the everyday thing, at least not in my life. It's not really the everyday look for me.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's going to get good in a minute here. So, name another classic one that you like, Dad.
I like
Talk about it.
Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid with Chris Christopherson and Rita Coolidge, who were living together in real life at the time.
Okay.
And that one had Jason Robards, had Bob Dylan, it had a lot of classic Western stars. Strother Martin,
Wow.
who was in a lot of Westerns.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was directed by Sam Peckinpah.
Sam Peckinpah, what a name.
Yeah, Sam Peckinpah was funny because he was the kind of director, he did not like to take multiple takes, multiple shoots. And there was one scene where Pat Garrett, played by, Billy the Kid, played by Chris Christopherson. Jason Robards was Pat Garrett. But Billy the Kid, Christopherson, is in the bandits' hideout along with his girlfriend Rita Coolidge. And at one point they came up to each other and looked at each other. And Christopherson's tall, about 6'4", and Rita Coolidge is looking up at him. And they step toward each other. And then they just start laughing. And when you see the scene, you realize that somebody probably blew a line.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam Peckinpah, being the kind of director he didn't always like to do more than one take, he just left it in. So it's a really funny scene where the two of them come up and look at each other and start laughing.
Yeah. That's interesting. Wow. That is something you don't oftentimes hear about in filming Westerns. But there was one other one that I would imagine it was frequent in, and that's Blazing Saddles. What do you think?
Oh, Blazing Saddles, oh my God.
You think they did something like that in there?
I'll bet you they did.
Yeah?
Yeah, although Mongo, what's his name, I forgot his name, Alex Karras, and the horse farting and everything, I'm sure that was planned.
Oh my gosh.
That horse is a good actor.
Huh? That horse, man.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen an interview with that horse.
They had so much innuendo in it about race, and oh my God. Yeah.
So
that looks more like the Tombstone, that mustache right there.
Really?
Looks like the sheriff. I forget what actor played the sheriff.
Oh, yes.
The gutless sheriff.
Yeah. He was the one married to Josie at first.
No, he wasn't married to her.
No?
But he fancied her, as they used to say.
I feel like this was, I mean, it's kind of striking nowadays, but I feel like it was kind of a common look in the Wild West, you know?
Oh yeah,
Like people just did it, and it's as common as like a 5 o'clock shadow today, you know what I mean?
yeah.
I mean, I think it's kind of cool. I've never ever seen myself pull this off before. My mustache has never been long enough, and I think it's freaking awesome.
It's funny.
You like that?
Yeah.
But you know what? I could also go down whenever I don't want to draw attention to myself.
No, up is
It's
better.
still pretty rustic looking though. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just the length of this one is inescapably cowboy, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
still not, you know, but yeah, I'm gonna try it one more time. I'm gonna see. But the one I had just before this, the cowboy mustache, I forgot to bring this up, but Kurt Russell sported that in Tombstone. Personally, I think he nailed it. I think he does pretty well in westerns anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think this is kind of cool.
Just don't move to Idaho and join the Posse Comitatus.
I wish I were familiar with that. Explain that.
That's all a bunch of survivalist, redneck.
Oh boy.
Yeah. That's what they are.
Gotcha. Anyway,
Anarchists.
All right.
Nice.
so I'm gonna do my last look here.
Another. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Another one of my favorite westerns was Shenandoah, again with Jimmy Stewart.
Again, with Jimmy Stewart. He really was a common Western actor.
Oh, he did great westerns.
People don't remember him like that, you know? I think it's in part because of It's a Wonderful Life, you know?
Yeah, and all the other stuff he did, the
Yeah, like,
non-westerns.
he did do some interesting stuff, but he also did a bunch of westerns, really, let's face it.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway.
Shenandoah was about a Virginia farmer and his 5 children, and he did not want to take sides during the Civil War. He tried to remain neutral, and it was very difficult for him. He had 4 sons and a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
The daughter was played by Catherine Ross.
Okay.
And when a young Troy Donahue, who's an officer, comes to ask for his daughter's hand in marriage, there's a really funny scene where they're sitting on the front porch after dinner, and he has his little long, skinny cigar he used to like to smoke. And Jimmy Stewart says to Troy Donahue, he says, "So you want to marry my daughter, huh?" He says, "Yes, sir, I do." And he says, "Well, tell me something." He says, "If you come home one day from working on the farm and you walk into the house and your daughter or your wife is standing there crying, and you look at her and you say, 'Well, what's the matter?' She won't tell you. She just keeps crying. And you say, 'What's the matter?' She won't tell you. What do you do?" You gotta wait till that noise stops.
Sorry. I keep going?
So your wife is crying and she won't tell you why. What do you do? And Troy Donahue gets this astonished look on his face and he doesn't know what the hell to say. So he says, "I don't know." Jimmy Stewart says, here's my Jimmy Stewart imitation. He says, "Well, I'll tell you." He says, "All you do is you put your arms around her and you give her a big hug and you tell her you love her until she stops crying. That's all you can do." It's just a great scene.
Yeah. So, I think, and not to change the subject on you so quickly, but before we wrap this up, because I'm almost at my final look, I think what I want to talk about, what I think deserves some merit at least before we end this video, is the 2 westerns that Quentin Tarantino has done.
Oh,
I find them very unique.
God.
I find them very unique for a specific reason. True to form, those movies, just like all the other Quentin Tarantino movies, are ultra violent. And the Wild West was an ultra violent time. So both of those movies that I watched had kind of a unique authenticity to me at least, because they were both like super violent, you know. And he doesn't hold things back, you know. He holds nothing back, and these movies were no exception. And the Wild West was ultra violent. There was a short period of time in this country's history where a man could walk into a bar and get shot for saying the wrong thing to someone. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I mean, a man's honor was wrapped up in that pistol, you know. And so
And how quick
those
he could
movies
get it
were
out of his
initially-
holster.
Yeah. You know, and I mean, like the fight between the two slaves in Django.
Django Unchained, yeah.
That was, I could barely get through that. I mean, it was so disturbing, you know? And what's even more disturbing is the idea that that kind of thing really happened. You know, I mean, that's like, wow, that's terrible.
Well, go ahead.
But Django was good. I like Django. For some reason I liked The Hateful Eight better. I thought that was just
Which?
so entertaining. The Hateful Eight
I don't
with,
know if I saw
with
that.
Kurt Russell, and you did actually. We watched it in the theater together. You, me, and Chris.
Oh, we did. Okay.
Yeah, with Samuel L. Jackson. What is he not in of Quentin Tarantino's?
Yeah.
Kurt Russell.
He
I
probably,
can't remember the
he probably
actress
has
who
a
played-
room in Quentin Tarantino's house.
Yeah. I can't remember the actress who played Daisy, but she was pretty good. Oh gosh, funny story. And I'm sure a lot of you out there have heard this story before and know about it, but I find it hysterical. So the scene in Hateful Eight when Daisy is playing the guitar, that was like a $35,000 classic guitar on loan from a museum in LA. Well, Quentin Tarantino was the only one who knew what was going on set, okay? He deliberately did this. So she's playing the guitar, and what was supposed to happen was they're supposed to cut it, and they're supposed to switch the beautiful
Oh, no.
$35,000 guitar, see where this is going, with like a cheap prop guitar when Kurt Russell's character proceeded to smash it. And they didn't. Kurt
Oh,
Russell
no.
had no idea. He thought that was the cheap guitar. So she's playing this beautiful little song on this guitar. And then when it's finally over and the scene has to progress, you know, to the next part, Kurt Russell, having no idea what he's doing, grabs the guitar and says, "All right, that's enough," and he smashes the $35,000
Oh, no.
guitar. The actress who played Daisy's reaction was authentic. And if you concentrate and look closely, you can actually notice her break character for just about a second and a half. It was incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do my last look here. Any more you want to talk about before we wrap this up, Dad?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you want to talk about?
Well, the scene that I get a kick out of in Django Unchained is when Christoph Waltz kills Leonardo DiCaprio.
Uh-huh.
He's got one of those little hidden derringers in his sleeve. And he shoots Leonardo DiCaprio right in the head. And then he is face to face with Leonardo DiCaprio's right-hand man pointing a shotgun at him. And he knows that having shot Leonardo DiCaprio, he also sealed his own fate. And that look was just too noisy.
Sorry. No, the camera's picking it up, I think.
The look on
going.
Christoph Waltz's face, he's looking at the inevitability of his impending death and looking and saying, I had to do it, you know? And just before the bad guy pulls the trigger and blasts him with a shotgun. It's just really funny.
Yeah.
The look on Christoph Waltz's face is hilarious.
Yep. Yeah. I like Christoph Waltz too. I think he's a great actor.
He is, yeah.
He's interesting in real life. but
Not the kind of person you perceive as a Western actor, but
yeah,
that's okay.
So I feel like this was kind of a dandy look back then, and it's very hard for me to get this straight. And I'm gonna give up in a second here.
Show it. Yeah, that was.
I'm sure you've all seen
Okay,
it.
Mr. Dandy,
one or
now
two
take it
movies.
off.
I know. Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to get straight. I mean, I don't want to do that again. And I personally don't care for this look. I think it's terrible
No,
myself.
it doesn't fit you.
No. I also call it the John Waters look.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of made it like famous in the modern era.
Yeah.
I don't know who copied him though. I mean, because he's not a guy who a lot of people copied.
Yeah.
God rest his smutty soul. Anyway. All right, here we go. First time in almost 90 days. I'm starting to see myself again.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna rinse a little bit.
Y'all done?
I am. Hold on, don't stop it yet. Rinse a bit. We'll have to, I'm gonna have to fine tune it a little off camera, but
That's fine.
yep.
Why don't you clean my sink?
Well, this has been fun,
Yeah, it was.
and I feel cooler than I have in a
Liberated.
long time. What?
Liberated.
Anyway, thank you everyone for joining us. If you got anything out of this video, you didn't stop it, did you?
No, not yet.
Keep it going for a moment. I gotta bring us out. If you got anything out of this video, if you enjoyed it, leave a like. I would appreciate it, and thank you very much. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Anyway, this has been fun. I'll see you all soon. Bye.
All right. Bye.